If your lawn is starting to turn brown in the summer, your first instinct might be to water more. But what if I told you that watering too much can actually be a bad thing sometimes? What's up everybody, it's Jordan with Lawn Doctor. We're here with another video for you, and we're here in summer in West Michigan. It's getting hot, it's supposed to be 90 degrees next week, and we want to fill you in on what you can do to keep your lawn green. We get this question all the time: how much should I water in the summer? What's my mow height? What should I be doing to keep my lawn green and not going dormant from stress? Well, today we're going to answer all those questions for you, so stay tuned. Let's dive into it. So heat stress occurs when your lawn is losing moisture faster than it can absorb it. So let's say you're watering every day. Let's say we're getting 90-degree temperatures. Well, sometimes even when you're watering every day, that heat will take that water away from your lawn. Therefore, it's not getting the water it needs. If you rely on Mother Nature for water during the summer months, then it can especially be a pain, because a lot of times in the summer we get drought, sometimes a month at a time, and therefore you're kind of left with a dormant looking lawn. So as temperatures rise in the summer and natural rainfall and maybe irrigation becomes less frequent, the lawn is actually going to start protecting itself, conserving itself in order to survive until times are good again or it receives water. So when the lawn begins conserving itself, this is going to cause your lawn to do a few things here. It's going to lose color. Your lawn's not going to be as dark green as it usually is because, again, it's conserving itself. Slow growth. The lawn's not going to put much production into growth at that point because, again, it's really conserving itself. It's trying not to grow. It's trying to just conserve any energy it can to survive once moisture returns to that grass. A third thing could be curled or folded blades. So if you step on it, those blades are going to stay like that. They're not going to pop back up because there's no moisture in those grass blades. And again, footprints, any track marks from machines, stuff like that, your lawn's going to lay down probably a lot more than it usually does. There's no moisture to pop that back up. It may take a while for that to recover. The important thing to do is not to freak out when your lawn starts going dormant or showing some of those signs. Again, because the lawn is actually protecting itself, it's conserving energy, it's storing it for when moisture is available once again. In many cases, it's just the grass's natural defense system. It's protecting itself for the long term. So how do you know if your lawn needs more water? Well, one of the easiest things we can do is just simply walk across the lawn like this. And if that lawn is popping up behind you, then that means there's moisture in those grass blades, and therefore you're probably good. If it's not recovering, if it's just sitting down, laying flat after you step on it, therefore there's no water in those grass blades, it probably needs water. You can also look for deep, darkish blue and gray coloring, so that can happen sometimes when it needs water. Wilted grass blades on top, so it just won't look as healthy. They look not as straight. Again, they may be laying down. Another thing you can do is you can do a shovel test. Pulled our good core right here. Great moisture content. It's dark. We pulled our dry spot, and look at this. You can clearly tell just by comparing these two. This one's a lot lighter, which means it's not as moist. And then also we have a little bit of sand here at the bottom, which means that water is going to go faster through that sand than it is the soil. It's not getting as much irrigation. Maybe the irrigation is not hitting it, but a lot of times in these corners, in these really tight areas, they don't get as much as the rest of the lawn. And so I would say that this is definitely an irrigation issue. That is another way to check if your lawn needs water. Again, we're in West Michigan. We're calling for 90-degree heat next week. Everyone's going to be asking, what do I do? How do I water? How do I protect my lawn? Let's start with what not to do. The single biggest mistake with summer watering is people watering lightly every day for about 10 to 15 minutes. This is going to encourage shallow roots and roots that are near the surface in times of the most stress. So with those roots near the surface, that means your lawn is going to be very thin. It's going to be prone to disease. It's going to be prone to dying off quicker than a lawn that has those roots that dive deeper looking for that water. Another mistake is watering during the middle of the day or heat of the day. We don't want to water between 10 to 5 p.m. or even after 10 in general, because with the heat, that heat's going to evaporate that water a lot of times before it can even get into the surface of the soil. Therefore, you're really just wasting water. Your grass isn't getting any value from that. It's just going back up into the atmosphere through evaporation. There's a lot of brown grass around, brown spots. Homeowners assume they just need more water. They start to dump water on it every day for 40 minutes, and that can actually cause more harm than good, because sometimes that issue could actually be disease, compaction, or another lawn issue altogether. If we look right here at this lawn, we see some of these brown areas right here, but this is actually disease. It's not a moisture issue. We know the lawn's green. We know the lawn has water. So again, they could think that, oh, my lawn's starting to go dormant, or it needs water. It does not need water. That's actually a disease known as red thread. The last thing not to do with watering is water in the evening or have the lawn wet going into the nighttime, because that's the best time for fungal and disease growth to happen, and you can create that environment for it to happen. If we look over here at this lawn, we see a lot of this mycelium growth right here. We see red thread right here, but then we see these little pieces of mycelium. With this mycelium, water will travel through this mycelium, therefore creating the perfect gateway for fungus to travel through this lawn. So let's talk about the right way to water during the summer. The single best thing you can do for your lawn is to water deep and infrequently. Most established lawns call for 1 to 1.5 inches of water per week, including rainfall. So instead of watering every day, water 3 to 4 times a week for about 20 to 30 minutes. Or if your lawn has certain instances, if it's more shaded, if it holds clay, if it's sandy, you can change those times up depending on your lawn. But most lawns that we see in this area, we're talking, 3 to 4 times a week. about 20 to 30 minutes a zone. This watering method encourages deeper rooting, so in times of high stress, those roots are deeper in the ground looking for water. They're not at the surface, and it's more resilient during hot weather. The best time to water is in the very early morning between 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. We don't have that heat yet. We want that lawn to get water. We want it to soak in. Therefore, we're getting our value with that water. It's not evaporating, and that root zone, again, is diving down to grab that water. So even with proper watering, some lawns can still show signs of stress, even in the extreme heat. So next week here in West Michigan, we're gonna be 90 degrees every day. That is considered extreme heat. Even with proper watering, they can still see stress. It's very common for the cool season grasses here in West Michigan. So we're talking our fescues, our perennial ryegrass, and our Kentucky bluegrass. A lot of times, especially if you don't have irrigation in the summertime, a lot of those grass types will go dormant until it receives adequate moisture in the late summer to early fall time. The key in all this is consistency. So when you can water, you do water, or if you are on a schedule with your irrigation, you want to keep on that schedule even if things continue to turn brown. A lot of people want to skip applications when the lawn is dormant too, and that's another big no-no. You want to stay consistent with your fertilizer treatments as well, because what happens is when we're throwing that product on your lawn, and a lot of times for us, it's a granular, that granular is going to sit there on that surface or in that soil until it's activated and starts to break down. And when we get water from natural rainfall, it's going to activate that fertilizer, and that lawn is going to bounce back way faster than if it was not fertilized. So people that say don't fertilize it when the lawn is dormant, in some cases they may be right, but in our case here, we want to fertilize because it's going to bounce back quicker because it has those nutrients to grab onto than if it didn't have anything to grab onto. Will your lawn recover from dormancy? Yes, a lot of times it's the lawn's natural defense. It's going to come back with moisture, nutrition, and rain, right? Now, sometimes if we go through a very extreme drought, like I'm talking 2 months with no rain and excessive 90-degree weather, it is potentially able to happen where the lawn sometimes can die off in certain spots or at least thin out. We have seen that before in very extreme cases. But as long as the crown of that grass blade down in the soil remains healthy, remains active, then all things lead to recovery, again, with proper moisture and nutrition. Especially here in a cool season market, heat stress is very common for us, especially in the summertime. We know it's coming every year. So again, the most important things you want to do is heading into summer, you want to cut that lawn as high as you can, 3.5, even 4. It doesn't hurt. It's going to protect it in the long run. We want to water deep and infrequent, 3 to 4 days a week, potentially 1 to 1.5 inches of rainfall is what that lawn calls for per week with natural rainfall included. We never want to water at night. We don't want it wet going into the night. We don't want to have a breeding ground for fungus and disease growth. So we want to water very early morning, and we don't want to stop our nutrition plan as well. We want proper fertilization because even if it does get stressed, again, that fertilizer is sitting there waiting for activation. Once we get our moisture back, that lawn's going to bounce back quicker. So if we follow a lot of these practices, it's not a guarantee your lawn will get through the summer, but it's going to give your lawn the best chance it has, even through extreme drought and heat stress. These are the things that you want to do. If you guys have any questions about your lawn, summer practices, fertilization questions, we'd love to help you out. Subscribe. We drop a video every week explaining different issues. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, see you later.